welcome to the Silvers Connection. I am your host, Ernie Silvers, where we talk about you unlocking the power of you to be the best version of you that you possibly can. We bring in special guests to talk about you winning the head game, as I like to call it. We're coming to you live, pre-recorded actually, from the basement of Jack Brown College at the beautiful Cal State University in San Bernardino. Talking with special guest today, Ursula Mentjes. Ursula, welcome.
Thank you, Ernie Silvers. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you. This is a blast. Let me tell you a little bit about Ursula before we get going. Ursula is an inspirational speaker, best-selling author, certified sales coach. She specializes in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and we'll have to find out a little bit more about that. She helps clients double and triple their sales no matter what their niche. Ursula founded her company, Sales Coach Now, in 2004. Very successful platform speaker she is. Her clients include Aflac, Ebenezer and Fairfield Hospitals, New York Life, Paychex, the American Marketing Association. Her podcast, Double Your Sales Now, is heard all over the world and is available on iTunes. Ursula holds a bachelor's in psychology and communications from St. Olaf College and a master's in counseling and psychology from Cal Baptist here in Riverside. She's a recipient of numerous awards. My goodness, it goes on and on and on. She's a two-time finalist in the Spirit of the Entrepreneur Awards, author of 5 books. Her latest book, Belief Zone, is an Amazon bestseller. You just did a second edition of that, did you not?
That's a long story. We can talk about it today.
We won't talk about that today. But the Belief Zone is available on Amazon. Belief Zone, a blueprint to make more money, give back to the organizations you care about, and live an authentic life. Ursula Mentjes, welcome to the Silvers Connection. Thank you so much.
So excited to be here. And by the way, you were one of my favorite guests, let's just say it, on the Double Your Sales Now show. We had so much fun. And you referred me to Mike Mooney, and I forgot to say your name. And I just this is my chance to make it right. So I'm so grateful for that connection. And the Belief Zone, here's what happened to the Belief Zone. It was going into its second edition. COVID happened. So instead, we're doing a second cover because bookstores are basically closed right now. And there's just not that opportunity. So we're releasing another book. So things have shifted a little bit, but it's all good. It's going to have a cool new cover. So I'm excited about that.
That's kind of what we're talking about here. Everything is shifted, you know, like we're in Alice in Wonderland. Up is down and down is up, and we don't know anymore. So here's the setup, Ursula, kind of simple. We've got this COVID-19 thing that's been kind of bouncing around, got everything upside down, as you just mentioned. It has been and continues to be a massive game changer for most people and businesses. And what we're looking to do is give advice, suggestions to recent grads or those who have been displaced because of the virus. So first question to you, how should those looking to be employed or re-employed, how should they be looking at the job market right now?
Oh, such a good question. And I just want to say I have a lot of love for anyone who's looking for a job right now and anyone who's, making these shifts. Like I feel like this can feel like a big struggle, but I hope to give you some ideas and thoughts on how to pivot and maybe how to look at things differently. So here's where I want to start. And this might throw a few people. So, I like to be a tad bit controversial. Ernie's going, what is she going to say? I still want you to go after your top 20% of job opportunities. Like if you're I think a lot of MBA grads, a lot of others, like you've worked hard to get the degree. So look for the companies that you really want to work with. And you might have to have a list of 20 of your top 20%. The list might be longer right now, but I don't want you to shrink. I don't want you to say, oh, well, I'm only going to do this right now. That is the worst place for you to go. And that's a lie because there are companies that are hiring. There's still opportunities. Now, here's the thing though. That opportunity might not look exactly the way you imagined it. Okay. But sometimes you just have to get your foot in the door so that things can start to unfold. And I'll give you an example. This is going to be in super code because it's a close friend of mine had a situation where she was offered an opportunity to get her foot in the door probably 3 months ago, like kind of at the start of the pandemic. And it was a phenomenal opportunity. It wasn't the pay that she wanted, but it was a phenomenal opportunity. Here's what I know. Had she taken that job, she would have been on her way to getting where she wanted to go. And I know we don't always like to hear that. We have these expectations of here's where I want my first salary. And I get that. Like maybe we adjust a little bit there, but still focus on those top 20% of companies that you really want to get your foot in the door with so that you can get there.
Okay, so you're still looking to go where you think you want to go. I've heard the phrase, help me on this one now, I'm kind of borrowing, and you can help direct me where it came from. Choose a direction, not a destination. So you know where you want to go, but maybe not be as specific as you could previously, but go in a particular direction to get where we want to go.
Right. And I think that one exercise you could do, I'm a big believer in clarity. I'm a big believer in scripting it out. I do this with my clients all the time. And to write out, like, what are the values of the company that you'd like to work for? What do you see yourself doing on a daily basis? Sometimes we can get locked into a really specific title, but it might not look like that when we arrive there, right? Companies are very different. We can do very different things at different companies and still get to the same place. So create the list of what you'd like to be doing, the values, which I think is more important than anything, right? That your values align up with the company that you go to work for, that you like the people who are there, like all of those things will pay off, because then you've got the job, you're on your career trajectory, and then it can start to unfold how it may, and we don't know. I mean, if you would, like, I'm the accidental salesperson. This was never my plan. I was supposed to be farming or being a veterinarian or maybe having my own legal practice. None of that. But I wouldn't be doing what I wouldn't be living this dream life that I'm living now had I gotten so locked into titles and how things had to look.
Right. So flexibility is key. Let's go into limiting beliefs, because you talk a lot about limiting beliefs. Can you help us understand what are they? Where do they come from?
Yeah. Well, there's so much information out there about limiting beliefs. I like to keep it really simple. A limiting belief is just a thought that you think is true. That's my favorite definition of a limiting belief. It's just a thought you think is true and it probably doesn't serve you. So a thought that you could take on right now that might be a limiting belief is that there are no jobs and no one is hiring. Well, that clearly doesn't serve you. And to shift a limiting belief, it's very simple. You just want to look at 3 things that are potentially not true about your limiting belief. So Ernie, what's not true about the limiting belief that there are no jobs right now and no one is hiring?
What is not true?
Yeah.
Well, I know factually from talking to people that there are people looking, people are being hired, people are having to be flexible. So to believe that no one is hiring, that's just not factual. It's not true.
Yeah. And that's where we can get locked in and get stuck. I'm not saying it's going to be super easy. So don't, some things can be very simple and very clear. And then we, the human, have to go do the things we don't want to do, right? We have to move through resistance anyway, but at least start with the belief, the potential that there are opportunities right now. And really if you look at it too, because of COVID, a lot of money has shifted, right? So companies that never thought they'd be selling PPE are now. Companies that never thought, they would be doing X in this economy are. And those companies that are pivoting and shifting have to hire because they have to keep moving forward.
Right, they do. Then you have to be able to adapt. And that's one of the things that we've realized immediately is gathering the ability to be virtual. You've had to take your business virtual. You are a sales trainer, a face-to-face, a platform speaker. You don't do that live necessarily in person anymore, do you?
Not at all. Like I haven't since the pandemic started. And I'll be honest, like the first week of the pandemic was really painful because as a small business owner, I mean, I literally sat down with my husband and I said, Tim, I think this is it. Like coming from someone, like I live in the space of, shifting limiting beliefs. It seems very funny now, but that human takes over. And I was in this dark place for about a week and I just thought, I just didn't see a path forward. And then I kind of detached, I let it go. And there's that part of me that said, Ursula, figure it out. Like, if there's anyone they figure out, like this is the space, you were born for this. This is the space you swim in, like shift your belief. So I shifted it to, that we can create the same kind of powerful impact with our clients through Zoom. Thank goodness for Zoom and, Microsoft Teams, everything else that's out there now. We can create. So I shifted my belief to, yes, we can do this. And then the way to do it showed up. And that's a really big thing I want to make sure people hear. Once you let go of that limiting belief, get clear on what you want to believe going forward. Even if your subconscious is like, you don't believe it yet, that's okay. Like, I believe this could be a great time to find a job. I'm in the process of believing this could be a great time to find my first opportunity that's going to keep me moving. Once you say yes to that, then here's where we sprinkle in the synchronicity, right? Which is a meaningful coincidence. Then start to watch for the people who show up in your life, right? The phone calls that come in, or you get that idea, you think, man, I should reach out to Ernie because he knows so-and-so. Like, pay attention, because we're always getting those little hits of who to reach out to next. And that's the thing, you got to ask for help. I mean, I asked for help. I called all my friends so that they would feel sorry for me for at least 15 minutes. And then I called all my friends who were very direct and told me to get on it and get moving, right? Ask for help.
Get over this stuff. You teach this stuff. What are you doing? Yeah, I have had a similar feeling. I think it's okay when I talk about emotional intelligence, I talk about you feel what you feel and you can't disregard that, right? So feel it, acknowledge it, don't live there, right? So like you said, I'm going to feel sorry for myself for about 15 minutes and then I'm going to go, wait a minute, I know how to do this. I need to get out of here, right? And somebody one time asked me, do you ever use this stuff you learn, do you ever use this stuff? And now I think a lot of us, because we travel in a similar circle, a lot of us have had to reach back and determine what it is that we talk about and what we tell other people and use it ourselves. And now we're all success stories, right? So we're all doing it. So what about goals? Where do goals come in there? And you talking about focus and goals. How do goals set up?
So goal setting, I mean, obviously important, you know, like for someone who's wanting to find a job right now, I mean, you have a clear goal. What can happen right now is that we can shrink our goals. And I don't want people to do that, because I'll tell you, we have clients who made the decision to have, no matter what, during the pandemic, this was going to be their best couple months yet. We're having some of our best months ever in business, which is a surprise to me, especially in the middle of the summer when most people go to the cabin in Minnesota. Well, now we have clients all over, but great things are happening, right? So we got recommitted to our 2020 goals. So get clear, like if the goal is, I want to have this job, doing these things, then just be honest with yourself. Part of it is that so often we're so afraid to say out loud what we want, and we settle for second best. And that just makes me crazy, because that's just a lie. We make up if it's going to be hard to get this job, or can I do this? And at the end of the day, Ernie, as you know, it goes back to believing I deserve this opportunity, believing that I can handle this opportunity, believing that I can step into it. And you're going to feel like a fish out of water when you start a job. You feel like a fish out of water when you start anything for the first time. It's okay not to know everything. An employer's not going to expect you to know everything on the first day, but get committed to the job that you want. Be clear on the goal that you've set for yourself, and keep following. As long as you keep going and keep taking the steps in front of you that keep showing up, you're going to get a job. You're going to get a job.
Obstacles are what we see when we take our eyes off our goal, right? So you have to keep remembering what it is. Now, you are the sales coach. Sales has a part to do with this, right? I mean, what about selling ourselves? Don't we have to sell ourselves first before we can sell to others? So how does sales play a part in looking for new work right now?
Sure, it's a great question. And I think I shared the story with you before, but I spoke to a group of people who were unemployed and looking for opportunities. And this is probably like 10 years ago already, because Selling with Intention still had a red cover. I remember that. And so I brought my Selling with Intention books and my workbooks, which I thought had nothing to do with the job seekers in the room, right? And I took the information from the books and I just explained, which I'm going to break down for you right now. I've never sold more books and workbooks in my life than I did that day. They all took it, they went home, they used the techniques to work on selling themselves to get a job. And so here are the key points. So you don't have to go buy the book or the workbook. You just take notes right now. First, right, before you get to a job interview, it's important to be intentional and choose the result ahead of time. And what I mean by that is, in any selling situation, whether I'm selling a product or service or I'm selling myself in an interview, you want to be clear on the result that you want before you leave. And that result for you is to have a clear next step on the calendar with the person who's interviewing you, because that will tell you so much. So in other words, at the end of that conversation, you can ask, what is our next step together? Just use those. What do you see as our next step together? Be direct, be intentional, because as an employer, I want to know that you actually want this job. I can't tell you, I've interviewed hundreds of people when I was running a tech firm, and the sales professionals, the employees who moved forward with me were the ones, who showed up prepared and intentional. Like I could tell they wanted the job. They were confident. and they were active listeners. Side note, only 10% of the world has active listening skills. So most of us need to work on that. So you want to be an active listener and participant in that program. Or in the interview, it's back and forth. And then finally, those candidates who drove the next step, who were like, you know, Ursula, what's the next step for us together? Like, who already made it feel like we were in this together. They were already on board. I was super interested, but that's not where it ended. So they left, okay? And I might have thought, phenomenal candidate, right? Like on paper, interviewed really well. This is what I waited for. And I'm thinking, wondering what it is. I waited for the follow-up. We're in a time of, I get it, we're in a time of technology. We think it's easy to send the text as a follow-up or a quick email. Don't let that be you. Do not let that be you. I want you to follow up 2 ways, extremely professionally. 1, a professional email. Professional email that says, thank you for interviewing me for X position. I appreciated our time together, and whatever else that you remembered from that meeting that was very specific. And then call out the next step. You know, per the end of our conversation, whatever they say is the next step is, best regards from you. Very professional email. Spell check it. Have someone read it before you send it, right? Take it to the writing department. Then take that same content, okay? And I want you to handwrite a card. Handwrite it. Handwrite a note saying the exact same thing, put an envelope, and as soon as you can, like, get it in the mail that day. Okay. Now you can take it even, you know, 1 step further if you feel like you feel like this might be good and really feeling it. I remember I had a sales rep one time who sent me a chocolate foot in the mail, and it said, it was so great meeting with you. I would love to work for Knowledge Alliance, which is the name of the company. I'm excited to get my foot in the door. Here's what I was looking for, right? I was looking for how they followed up with me was how they would follow up with our clients. And they were that intentional. It was a no-brainer. So stand out in the way that makes sense for you, depending on what industry you're interviewing in, but stand out, be memorable, and be clear that you're professional and are directing that next step.
So far you've mentioned things that so far I've got, I think, less than 50 cents invested in what you just described, right? With the email and with sending a card. I've got less than 50, and we're discounting the foot. We're not going to go with the foot thing.
We don't have to go with the foot.
Yeah. So the point is, this doesn't cost a lot of money, but people don't do that.
They don't.
So be exceptional.
They don't at all.
And do the things that people don't do.
Yeah, and you don't have to do anything extra. If you just sent a professional email immediately, like within 2 hours of your interview, and then at the same time handwrote that note, got it in the mail today, because you're probably local, it's going to get there in the next 2 days, you're going to get the opportunity. In sales, one of the things I do after I meet with a company is I get a book in the mail, a signed autographed copy saying, I can't wait to work with you. No one does that. You think this would be common sense in the sales world. It's not. So I know it's not in other places. So those 2 things can make you really stand out. So caveat though, please have someone proofread it for you. I have people proofread my work because I miss things. You don't see it when it's your own writing, and that'll just help make sure you get it there the way you want it to.
I know sometimes we can get caught up in the emotion of doing it, just getting it done, and we don't slow down just a little bit to catch the boo-boo.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I know that most programs come with spell check, but some of the emails I get, I wouldn't think that's true. So just these little things. So it doesn't take a lot. It just takes little things to be unique.
Yes,
to be
exactly.
Unique. So we need to be clear on what we want. We need to be intentional. We need to follow up. What else needs to happen?
I think it's so important to work on ourselves, you know, to work on our confidence, to have that pep talk with a mentor or a friend who's going to really help you see what your strengths are. Practice interviews, I think, are really powerful. I had a couple of quotes that I brought along for this conversation. One, they credit this to Oscar Wilde, but they're not really sure if he said it. Someone said, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. And that has stuck with me through the ages. Work on your confidence, but also be authentically you. Be professional, be authentically you. I want to know who you are in the interview process. I want to sense your confidence. In the sales world, we say people buy confidence. In the interviewing world, people buy your confidence. If I believe that you can come in and do the job and solve the problem that's there, and even take a little extra work off my plate or whoever's plate, right? And just like make it sound easy, like this is going to be easy for you and here's what you're going to do. I'm going to hire you. Like,
Right.
I just want that confidence. And then when I get that thing in the mail from you, the card and the follow-up email, that's just the cherry on top that says, oh, I am making the right hiring decision today. So hopefully that helps, that confidence piece. But lean into your mentors and friends to feed you. We all need to be reminded what our strengths are and what's great about us, because it's easy to forget.
A quote I saw the other day with regards to coaching suggested, you are never too good not to need a coach. So it doesn't matter what level you're at, you still need an accountability check, somebody to, you know, just see the real you, somebody to give you the information that maybe others are afraid to tell you what they see, to be real, to be honest. So it doesn't matter what level you're at, you need to have people around you that help you understand, hey, you could polish this chrome a little bit and it would be better for you, for all of us. And sometimes we don't do that. How about, we're going to go kind of circle back a little bit. We're going to talk about limiting beliefs. I notice with a lot of folks, they have challenges with what I call being comfortable in your own skin, right? They don't even know who the authentic me is. They don't feel comfortable with that entity. I think that's a limiting belief that keeps us from understanding who that is and being okay with that. Now, do you have any comments with regards to limiting beliefs and accepting the authentic you? How can people get over that?
That's a big, I think that's a big question in the sense of—
Is that an encyclopedia question?
Well, I'm putting my therapist hat on.
Okay, here we go.
I'm trained as a therapist. I'm not licensed, so let's be very clear. And so I think there's often work that we have to do on ourselves. And I think we all had interesting childhoods. I mean, some more interesting than others, right? And there's probably stuff that's there that you're not even aware of. It's worth it to work with a therapist, a life coach, anyone that's going to make you better. I mean, there hasn't been a year in my life where I haven't worked with a high-level therapist, a coach, many coaches. I work with healers. There's so much work that I do on this self to be able to coach and support my clients at the highest level, because otherwise I get in the way. So I'm such a proponent of mental health and getting to the next level. There's a lot of shame around, you know, going to see a therapist, but therapists many of them today are very solution focused. They're very much on helping you heal so you can move forward quickly. And given the time that we're in, more of us than ever probably need support with our mental health. So I'd start with that. But then also, like, learn about yourself, read books, listen to podcasts, you know, dig into how do you excavate that authentic you. It takes work. It takes a lot of work. And talking about coaches, you know, if you think about the top athletes in the world, how many coaches do they have? I mean, in the business world, we think, oh, we should have one coach. Well, I like to hire coaches for my writing, my business, you know, my health, like all the things. Top professionals have lots of coaches. I mean, our top athletes, like, they don't think anything of it. They're always getting to the next level. So yes, we all need and deserve that kind of help. And, you know, Ernie, I would say too, it doesn't always, in the beginning, I didn't have, you know, tons of funds to invest in coaching. And so, you know, SCORE, SBA, SBDC, Inland Empire Women's Business Center, there's so many organizations out there that offer low-cost mentoring and support, so you can start at any financial level.
Right. So it's just a matter of understanding that you're not perfect, you're not going to be perfect, and that's okay.
That's okay. And work on yourself. The best money I ever invest is the money I invest in my well-being, myself, so that I can, you know, move to that next level in my career.
Right. It's kind of like going to college to get a degree. You also have to work on yourself to understand, be refined, and get better. Anything you want to be better at, that's what you have to do. All right. So I think that we are about close to the end. Any other advice you might want to add for the folks out there?
Yeah, I want to share a quote from one of my favorite mentors and coaches. So, you know, I'm in the sales training and speaking industry. And so one of my mentors is Brian Tracy. And if you know the sales industry, he's, you know, written 80 books and he's still going strong out there speaking all over the world. And he also not only was a mentor to me in the world of speaking, but he gave me his book proposal and said, here, go copy and paste, create your own book proposal. And it was the reason I got published. So there's so much that mentors and coaches do for us to elevate us to that next level. And Brian Tracy said, I love this. He said, develop an attitude of gratitude and give thanks for everything that happens to you, knowing that every step forward is a step toward achieving something bigger and better than your current situation.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are days when things can seem hopeless. You turn on the news, it's an interesting time. What helps me is thinking of 3 things that I'm grateful for today. Just 3 things, because there's so much that I have to be grateful for. There's so much that all of us have to be grateful for. So I want to leave your guests and listeners with that thought of, like, what are 3 things that you're grateful for right now? Because that can help you shift your focus, your energy to feel better so you can move in the direction that you desire.
That's awesome. I love it. But I came up with, when I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about, you know, you and I, like I said, travel in similar circles. I was going to ask you, because I know that I've spoken about it, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask you the power of networking, right? We talked about coaches, we talked about mentors. Networking, I know for both of us, is essential. But for the person who says, I don't have time for networking, I don't understand it, it's not important. How important is networking to Ursula Mentjes?
Such a good question.
There's that face.
Yeah, so much.
It's like, what are you kidding me?
Like, that's the face of, there's this overwhelming to think about. Without my network, I wouldn't be where I am today. I can tell you at the start of the pandemic, so many key people from my network reached out to me to say, Ursula, I have this event for you. Ursula, I want you to come and speak here. Ursula, will you do this? And they did it from a place of, we want to support your business. We need you to keep going. And like, it could make me cry, because those are the people that have kept me going through some of the tougher times. And I've just been asked to serve on a board, on a committee, which is part of a board here in Minneapolis, was a national organization, because of my networking that I did 15 years ago in California. And it's elevating me, it's elevating my clients here. It's a big deal. Yesterday, I delivered the oath of office for Janice Graham, who's my twin, my best friend. She's now the president of Novel Inland Empire. She had 100 people from all over the country supporting her, past presidents. And I went on there and just saw this network of people that she and I both have relied on and leaned into. So make time for networking. And right now, Ernie, like, what's really cool about networking groups of all kinds, they're virtual. You can get on right now in your office and network around the world. So it's a great time to, you know, start that networking if you haven't. And start small. It doesn't have to be big right away, but start with a group that feels good to you.
Yeah. And I think sometimes what holds people back is they're afraid. Again, it's back to that, I'm not perfect, I don't know much, and they're afraid to put themselves out there. And I think not until you put yourself out there do you realize that a lot of people are kind of just like you, right? And they have those hesitations, they have those reservations about doing it. But after a while, you just get used to doing it. And, you know, it's like a chain. It just keeps rolling, and your network starts growing. So it's hugely important. So yes. Good for our pal, Janice Graham. That's nice for her. Happy that you were able to do that for her. How do folks get a hold of Ursula? Now, Ursula is very busy these days, probably maybe busier than she was prior, because you're so accessible now, as you just said, via Zoom.
It's so true. It makes me laugh because, you know, if someone wants to set up a call with you, you can't say, oh, I'm going to be on an airplane, or I've got this thing going on. Like, there's a time in my day when it's available. So it's become a time where you really have to protect that time. But you can find me hanging out on social media. I love Instagram. And our interview, my interview with Ernie, you can find it on Instagram. It's also on iTunes, Double Your Sales Now. I'm on Facebook. Would love to connect there. I'm on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn's probably my professional contact, so we can get connected there.
Right.
And the website is salescoachnow.com. So you can certainly email me, Ursula@salescoachnow.com, if there's anything I can do to support you.
Okay. So now help people understand, for the professionals in our audience, if someone wanted to inquire more about what does Ursula the Sales Coach provide, what sort of services can you help my organization with on a sales?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for asking. So we work with myself, my team, entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs who want to get to the next level. Mm-hmm. A lot of entrepreneurs who are at the $250,000 to $500,000 level and want to get to $1 million. That's one of our sweet spots. And we also work with a lot of sales teams who want to double or triple their sales in a short amount of time. And we're getting a ton of requests right now. I'm working with a lot of organizations whose sales professionals are feeling a little down right now, or feeling like this is the best time to be selling. And we're arming them with sales scripts that they feel good about reaching out to their prospects and how to connect right now in this different time.
That is amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Little shameless plug for our guest today. Always keeping her busy. And that is one of the things that I love the most during this time. If there is something good that's coming out of this, it's that folks are now more accessible than they have been almost ever, right? Because it's a Zoom call, it's easy to do. There's minimal little cost involved, and we can just get that done. So thank you so much for taking the time. And we have to let you go because you're off to an actual training event when you leave here. So thanks for joining us. That's it for today's episode. Find us on YouTube, the MBA CSUSB YouTube channel. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And if you have any comments, because we are a recorded event, we're taking those through email at mba@csusb.edu. That's mba@csusb.edu. And that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for being here. Ursula, thank you so much for being here. And we will call it a quit.